Hey, thank you for tuning in. This is David with OG Accountability. Sitting here with Joe. It's been a minute, man.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. It's kind of had a hectic past couple months and took a little break. But matter of fact, man, I've got episodes I've got to edit and get on air. I haven't had the time, so I'm kind of getting to where my schedule's freeing up again. But it's good to have you back, man. Share with everybody what's going on at Condition One.
Oh man, we're busy. We started getting busy after the first of the year. We just, we've gained 40 new members since the beginning of the year, and we're just, we're blessed right now for sure.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Have y'all ever thought about maybe opening another?
Maybe eventually, but right now we're happy with what we have. We have the space in our facility to add more classes if we need to, and then we can stagger our schedule. So we got plenty of room still.
Y'all have a great location, but y'all do have room. That's one of the things.
Yes.
Y'all got a big 4,500 square feet.
4,500 square feet.
Yeah, that's a good size.
It is.
That's a real good size.
It's a good size.
They just remind you of it every month when you got to pay
that bill.
Yeah.
When it rolls in every month. Yeah.
It just hurts one day a month.
Yeah.
But good to have you back, man. There's been a lot going on. We're in the election year. I can't even watch the news anymore. Now is when everybody turns against each other on social media, and so much divisive. Speaking of social media, man, I read something last night, and then I went online and started reading. And you ever have like those aha moments?
All the time.
All the time, yeah.
Yeah.
Mine are getting few and far between, but I was reading about prohibition, and prohibition started under the guise because domestic violence and child abandonment was so bad. That was their driving factor. But there's a lot of people say that wasn't the reason for prohibition. Prohibition, others believe the true reason was a lot of these people, the majority of them, ran their cars off of alcohol they made at home. Well, when gasoline came out, they no longer wanted people running their vehicles off alcohol. So prohibition started, and gasoline became the primitive fuel source for vehicles. And then once people got used to it, well, then they lifted prohibition. And then you think about it, look at alcohol today. Domestic violence is at an all-time high. Most of it is alcohol driven. Child abandonment, so that they're not focusing on that now. Matter of fact, on Channel 2 News last night, they had a deal about domestic violence and how to co-parent through domestic violence and things like that. And it's like, wow, man. So, y'all started going down that rabbit trail. I'm like, that kind of makes sense, You follow the money.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're at right now with this election thing, everything going on. But I think once that match gets sparked, people just start running to whatever they hear.
Right. It becomes real tribal for sure. It does. And you're seeing it now. I saw this morning where reporters at the last, when Biden spoke yesterday, because he's not going to be charged. The special counsel is not going to charge him for having those classified documents. And in the reason why they're not charging him is because they called him a poor elderly old man who has a really bad memory, right? Or can't remember things. And he was asked about it yesterday at the press conference, and he got real divisive over it. And you see, those are the kind of things that we're seeing nowadays, is that they're going to cover all that up and try to get somebody like that reelected, and it's dangerous for our country.
Very dangerous.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you cannot be cognitive, and do you know who Shane Gillis is?
No.
He's a comedian, but for one, he does the best Donald Trump impersonation I've ever seen. But he said something, and it's so true. He said, "I have never seen a man after a speech turn into a Roomba so fast, like he doesn't know where to go.
Oh.
He just stops and spins around." And it is funny, but on the second time, 81 million votes, like, that's sad. Oh, you can't say that. Last time I said that, they took the video down.
Did they really?
Absolutely. Took it down. Told me I was spreading false information, and that's all I said was just that right there. That ought to show you how scared the establishment or whoever's running in control, they are scared of facts. Facts trump everything. Growing up, I remember when I'd do things, my dad would look at me and tell me, Don't give me the story, just give me the facts. If you give me the facts, I can formulate opinions. But if you give me a story, you're trying to lead my thought. Just give me the facts. We've gotten away from facts. We've gotten away from, my God, politicians, people, they can be on video 6 months earlier saying something, and it's on video, on record, and sit there and deny they ever said it, and people be like, well, they never said it. And
well, you're seeing that now.
Oh, God, yeah.
You're seeing it now. Biden will say one thing, and then, 6 months later, he'll completely deny ever saying it. Well, you got the clip of it.
Trump is the reason for the border crisis.
Yeah, I know, right?
He said that this week. Trump is the reason. Really?
That's just a political move.
Yeah,
that's totally. That's just a soundbite that they're trying to get out to low information voters, uninformed people, and whenever the mainstream media plays that, which is what a lot of people will watch, then automatically that becomes truth. Right? That becomes their truth.
Say it 3 times and then they believe it themselves.
Right.
I think they could pass a lie detector.
It's really sad. It really is. I would say I felt bad for Biden, but after seeing everything that, how he's pretty much just sold our country out.
He's a crook.
He's a crook. His family's crooks. He's always been a crook. He's always been a liar. Yeah. He's been a liar since he's been in office.
Yeah. And with video evidence, not just people saying that, but people just they just turn a blind eye to it. If we can get out of the political arena and get to the facts of things on why you're voting, and if you are voting just under the guise that's how my family always voted, you're a weak individual.
Yeah, no independent thought.
No independent thought whatsoever. And I am sick and tired of seeing people. Had a guy here on a Tuesday night, and we were talking. Man, you remember Democrats and Republicans, like during the Reagan era, they got along. Reagan would get up and razz the Dems and tell jokes, and they all, they laughed, and there was unity across the aisle. They had their own different stances on things, but there wasn't this attack. But we see what I'm going to call it art. How they say life imitates art. It's like it's carrying over to everyone. And when things don't fit your narrative, you say that's offensive. No, it's not.
Well, that's their easy out.
Or it's racist. Mm-hmm. I was watching on the news last night. There's a high school, I can't remember which one it is, but they finally did away with cell phones because they were having Madison. They were having so many fights and recording, and good for them for stepping up for that. But they had a parent out front that said, "This is racist." What? How is this racist? You just throw a narrative out there so you don't have to face things anymore. And that is the problem. People have gotten out of that. Whatever you reap, you're going to sow. Consequences. If you're never forced to face your consequences, you and I growing up, I didn't say certain things to certain people. You know why? They'd punch me in the face.
Yeah, we got away from that, didn't we?
We got away from that big time.
Yeah, I think Mike Matranga and I talked about that on the podcast I did at Secured Podcast at ASAP Security. That the consequences, there's no consequences, especially with social media.
Oh God. Yeah.
Back in the day there'd be either emotional or physical consequences, and now that's just non-existent anymore. And it's become so easy for people to just talk shit on social media. And then that carries over to everything else. There's no consequences, and therefore they don't feel there should ever be consequences.
One of the things I love about social media, and I hope I don't sound cynical, but man, you'll see people who don't talk at all, and then they say something, and they get a bunch of comments like, "Oh, I love you. Really, you love me? I haven't seen you in 20 years. How do you love me? I've lived a whole complete life since I've seen you last, but you love me?"
Right.
Because people, we just push the easy things and just say things. And since we're not face to face, I just say whatever I want. And speaking of that, I have a friend going through a situation with his wife, and very fixable, very workable, but she had her eyes open to a lot of things because, fast forward, an old acquaintance, I'll say it like that, got a hold of her on Facebook. Man, I hadn't seen you forever. I'm in town. Let's meet up. And, so she tells her husband, hey, look, I hadn't seen this guy in a long time. He's like, yeah, go. Well, they go to dinner, catch up. Well, they're leaving. Well, he tries to kiss her. And she's like, whoa, what are you doing? So she comes home and immediately tells her husband, she's like, what in the world? And he said, well, I won't say her name. He just told her, he said, listen, not everybody's your friend. Okay. And I'm a man. And I can tell you, I work at keeping my morals and my values together. But people that aren't, they call them homewreckers for a reason. They don't care about anything except the chase. So he said, I've got an experiment for you. Post a picture of you and the kids. And I'll tell you who's going to like it. All your girlfriends and family. Post a picture of you and I. And I'll tell you who will like it. All your friends, like your girlfriends, your married friends, and family. He said, wait a few days and post a picture of you by yourself and watch what happens. And she did. She did that. Like 30 likes on her and the kids. And it's not about likes, but,
right.
Like 20 likes of he and her. Her alone, 400. And it's all guys.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's like, those guys won't ever talk to you. He's like, but the second they see you alone, it's, oh, hey, beautiful. Oh, you're so beautiful. Oh, you were a goddess, and all this stuff. And it was such an eye-opener to her that when you are dealing with people across a keyboard, you're never really getting the real person because you can't read body language. You can't read how somebody's reacting. And that's why a lot of times I don't like text message because I'm sarcastic. So I text the way I talk. And thank God for emojis now, which I refuse to use until somebody told me, like, man, you're being rude. I'm like, no, I was joking. And they said, well, why didn't you put a silly face emoji? I'm like, because I don't do that. Well, I learned. So when you're dealing with people, no matter what on the internet, you're never really getting the real them. You're getting who they're producing what you want to hear.
Absolutely. And it's hard to convey tone and demeanor through a text or through a social media post. Those things never come out. That kind of communication is never comprehensive. It's never one's true self. And you see it all the time, and all of a sudden somebody's offended over something that was never supposed to be offensive in the first place. It never should have been offensive in the first place.
Absolutely. And then that carries over into your life. That carries over into people's lives right there. You learn to produce, and I'm not saying you have to tell everybody everything. No, there's things that are private that need to stay. But you see people produce all these perfect images, all the smiles, and they're going through hell. Deal with your hell. Fix what is broken in your home. And if you can't fix it, reach out and get a hold of people that can help you do it. But we got to quit producing. We got to quit acting.
Well, we're making our lives a production.
Absolutely.
Right? All social media is a small little movie production that you can make yourself.
I was talking to a guy named Miguel. He had me come out and do his podcast. I said, Miguel, have you noticed this? When podcasts started, it was all about, and I'll use the term, the little guy. You got to hear voices from people that weren't on the huge platforms. But now celebrities have taken over the pod, and now it's all them. And I like people like Joe Rogan, who has stayed true to who he really is. I mean, he's been like that forever. I don't personally know him, but he's always had the same demeanor and same tone. But they've taken over in kind of like Taylor Swift and the Super Bowl. I'm happy for them, but I'm sick of hearing about it, man.
Yeah, I think it's kind of juvenile to actually, who gives a shit if she's there watching her boyfriend?
Yeah,
give a damn.
Let them have their relationship.
Thing, she's not the one panning the camera over to her every time.
Did you see that they projected she has brought revenue to the NFL and Chiefs of north of $300
million?
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah,
and the sad thing is, and if there's parents listening, let's look at Taylor Swift. She is the most influential voices in America. You better have a hold in a relationship with your kids, Because what happens tomorrow if Taylor Swift comes out and starts talking about kids' rights and tell kids, don't talk to your parents, don't tell your parents what you're going through, and go talk to your counselor at school? What are you going to do then? If she is that influential in your kids' lives, and it's not just kids. You know, I'm not hating on women. I don't see too many guys getting in the whole Taylor Swift thing, but I mean, there's some women that are just nonstop. I wonder if he's going to propose. I wonder, you know, I'm like, who cares? Like,
well, honestly, if you're allowing that kind of influence over your child that early, you know, you've already made a mistake. All right. I honestly believe that parents should be the most influential figures in any child's life, especially before that frontal lobe is developed. You know, that's critical. My daughter and I talked about that a lot. She's got her psychology degree. She's actually subbing at Cyrus's school. So that's been interesting. But we've talked about, you know, how she even mentioned last night, we were having dinner, and she said, you know, I don't hold anything or anybody's decisions against them before their frontal lobe is developed fully. And if those parents aren't part of that child's life and the biggest influence in that child's life, as long as it's a positive influence, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, if it's, let's not get it twisted. There are some parents out there that damn sure don't need to be the biggest influence in their kid's life.
Yeah,
they shouldn't be parents, right?
Absolutely.
But if you're doing the right thing, you know, and I'm not here to judge the way anybody parents their child. Okay, that's their business. You know, as long as it's not harmful to the child or others. But you know, you have to play an active role in those kids' lives every day, and not let some celebrity be their biggest influence, right? I mean, we've had, like, Cyrus, no more YouTube for Cyrus. Cyrus doesn't watch YouTube anymore. Now, the only time he will be on, we will allow him to watch anything on YouTube is whenever he's watching something like engineering for kids, you know, things of that nature that are educational. And those people, if he wants to follow them and watch them, great. But whenever it comes to some of the stuff that I see out there, like the one of the things we've had to kind of pull him away from was we noticed that he started watching a lot of these YouTubers and these influencers that like to get into mischief and think it's funny. It's funny, right? But at the same time, it's not always good to be the mischievous one.
Yeah.
Right? Always doing something to get a reaction out of it. You know, I think that's a negative influence.
I saw one last night. There's this trend, I guess, that they're trying to get started. This group of kids are at a stoplight. They get out and run back to this group of motorcyclists and start turning their motorcycles off. And this lady starts it back up, and it's a woman that's in the front. And the guy turns it back off. Dude, she gets off that bike, and that kid, that 17, 18-year-old kid, found out real fast when you mess with certain people. And she chased him all the way back to the car, and you could see the fear in his eyes. But what would bring somebody to do something like that? And the sad thing is,
likes.
Well, you saw the guy in the mall shot that one YouTuber.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He wouldn't leave him alone. Kept messing with him. Boy, he pulled a gun out and shot him. It's like, leave people alone.
People don't need to be messed with.
Speaking of kids, I mean, it's completely up to you. But you have any news?
Oh, you're gonna put me on the spot like that?
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a grandpa.
So what do you want to be called?
I don't care.
Yeah,
whatever. You know, I just want to be grandpa. Whatever. If you want to call me Papa, you want to call me Grandpa. I don't care. Just come hang out with me.
Well, congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, Nicholas and his girlfriend are expecting in June. So I've got a trip I've got to go do in camp. I'm going over to Southeast Asia. The latter part of May, and I should be home a few days before the babies do. So
they're going to welcome the white boy in with the royal treatment again.
Oh, over there? I don't know. Well, I hope so. We're going to be going to, of course, Cambodia and seeing family, and then we're going to travel over to Vietnam and hang out in Vietnam a little bit. And I've never been to Vietnam, so
that'd be a great trip, man.
It's going to be interesting for sure. You know, I'm really looking forward to it, and spending time with, getting away with my wife and getting some time off would be great too.
Yeah, you got to have that escape.
Have it.
And people that are in that work mode constantly, they're either overcompensating for something, or they're headed towards burnout. You can't stay. And I'll even take that to pastors. There's a guy named Gino. It's not Jennings. But anyways, he said, look, man, when I come to your house, if you invite me over for dinner, don't be asking me about Ecclesiastes. Don't be asking me about Romans. Pass me the green beans and let's sit and talk. If you expect me to walk around quoting scripture all the time, you are sorely mistaken. And I'm like, good for you, man.
Yeah.
And that goes with every aspect. People have to have, mine's golf. And I recently started back to the gym. So, I go to the gym 5 days a week, and that's like my escape. When I get there, phone goes off, and I get that complete break. Now, your grandpa, you get to love on them and then hand them back. They're not going to get a break for a while.
No.
And it's like, hey, get you some.
Yeah, and that's and trying to guide him. I want to guide him through this process of being a young father, because he's actually a little bit older than I was before I had Sheridan and Elise. So I'm trying to guide him through this process, but not tell him what to do. All right. And it's going to be real interesting. So we're going to, the kid works hard, right? Nicholas has got he's got 2 jobs right now. He works construction during the day, and then goes and works at another restaurant at night. So he works really hard for this girl and the baby. So I don't have to worry about that. His work ethic's there. I just want to make sure that he realizes the world is about to change.
It's going to change drastically.
Yes.
And, I think parenthood, for a lot of people, it's either a make or break time. And what I mean by make or break is there will come a point for, I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I got to quit using people's names too, because somebody's like, dude, you said my name. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Oh, I know. The bus comes by and you just kick him right out.
Yeah. But he said something. He said, I didn't think I was made out to be a father. And it wasn't till my son was 4 that there was just a complete and utter changing point in my life where he did something that I do. And I realized, oh my God, this kid is emulating and watching everything I do. And as parents, we got to realize that you can tell your kids something all you want. They're just looking at how you act.
Yep.
They're looking at what you do.
And it's funny you bring that up, because what I've been noticing here a lot is a lot of the mannerisms that Cyrus has, right? I was like, oh, I know that kid. I know that guy. That was Joe Morris at 6 years old, right? And so not only are they emulating the environment they're in, right? Because they're modeling everything we do.
Everything.
Okay? And I'm not going to dismiss the genetic component to it anymore either, because I think that there's a lot to that also.
I believe there is.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I see it just in the mannerisms. And I didn't get to see it as much, with Sheridan and Elise and Nicholas, because I was off at war and overseas or deploy or in North Carolina at Camp Lejeune, or I was somewhere else.
Did you drink the water?
That was before me.
Okay.
Yeah. I hope they got it fixed. We'll find out in another 20 years when we start seeing those commercials. Like if you were in the Marine Corps from 2000 to 2009,
What about
we'll figure it out whenever I grow a third ear. It's the water at Camp Lejeune. Is that why you got an ear on your forehead? Yeah.
Yeah. When we begin to navigate all the things that are going on, I think what I'm talking about, and maybe could explain a little better, like when we talk about Taylor Swift, the YouTubers, and I'm so blessed. I'm blessed, but I was also purposeful. I always controlled what Peyton watched without her knowing I was controlling. And then now, when she turns on YouTube, we watch educational shows, and her favorite thing to watch is hunting shows. We watch hunting shows.
You did something right there, David.
Yeah. Well, we watch, I don't know the guy's name, but he's from Tennessee. He is a man's man. He's probably 20 years old, man. He goes bear hunting. He runs dogs. We watch all of his stuff. Youngbloods. You ought to watch Youngbloods.
Yeah, we'll turn that on.
So it's a guy from Australia, and all he does is he goes out to these islands off of Australia. He gets on these islands. He'll stay out there 3 days and teach people how to live. But the most beautiful places. And I'm like, you can watch that all you want. And then there's one guy she'll turn on, and he keeps everything very, very in order. But sometimes, a good example, the other day she turned on, and I don't mind saying this, she turned on Mr. Beast, and I don't really care for it. They're not doing too crazy stuff, but they are producing stuff that is not realistic. Like, hey, for $100,000, let's play hide and go seek. And I have to tell Peyton, that does not exist in the real world. And I highly doubt they're giving away $100,000. This is a video. Nobody walks up to somebody in the mall and says, hey, I'll give you $10,000 or $100,000, play hide and go seek if I don't find you in 30 minutes. That doesn't exist. But I'm watching, and I'm reading, because whenever she watches, if I'm not too interested, I start reading. And I look up and I said, is that a guy in a dress? And she's like, oh my God. She immediately turned it off.
Good for her.
She's like, what in the world? And, I got sent a video. I'm going to send it to you. It's a mother. The school is up north. I'll send it to you. She came up to the school from the things that the teachers have been teaching her kid. And it just so happened when she got there, she walked in, and the lady had a rainbow LGBTQTAWXYOP flag hanging behind her. She's an English teacher, and she's teaching about that. This mother had somebody record. She walked up, ripped the flag down, threw it in the trash, and said, you need to be teaching grammar.
Oh, yeah. I saw that video.
Don't teach my kids this. I'm trying to protect them from this. And,
yeah, she was letting her have it, too.
And good for her.
Yep.
We need more people like that. People have just gotten so passive because we're so scared for toxic masculinity, to be called a misogynist, to be called a racist. Call me whatever you want, but I'm going to do what's right, and I'm going to try my best to stand for what's right.
Right.
And the indoctrination of kids, what it shows is your thought processes are so weak. When people do have a developed brain, they look at you and go, you're nuts. So you want to move it on to kids so they think it's normal, and it's not normal.
No, and look, when they're doing that kind of stuff that early in their life, that's exactly what they're doing.
Absolutely.
They're trying to indoctrinate their ideology on young kids. For me, once people are 18 or 21, however old they get, whatever they want to do, I don't care. Okay. But don't be bringing that to kids. No. They don't need to know about that stuff right now. Okay. You introducing them to that early before their brain is fully developed, that's going to have serious long-term consequences, because they're not able to handle or process those type of issues or those types of subjects that early. No. Right? And you're going to confuse the shit out of them.
Absolutely. And pervert their mind.
Yes.
And when people think perverted, they always go sexually. Perversion just means a twisting of the norm.
Yeah.
And I had this lady come to a funeral we did at the church, and didn't know the people. Well, she hung around afterwards, and I could already tell. I could spot her out in the crowd immediately. I'm like, there's a Karen. So she comes up afterwards. I really enjoyed that. So what is your stance on the LGBT? And I said, hang on. I don't even know you. I have no clue who you are. And you want to ask me something? I don't know you. I said, are you gay? Well, yes, I am. I said, okay. Do you believe what you are doing is right? 100%. I said, then it doesn't matter what I think. If you are right, quit worrying about what everybody else thinks. And she said, so you're not going to tell me? I said, no.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. If you're doing what you think is 100% right, who cares?
Yeah.
Quit trying to get everybody else to like you and agree with you. Mm-hmm. And
tribalism.
We have to get to a place of reality. And I'll share this. I had a friend of mine. Our friends are getting old enough now. Their kids are 24, 25 and wanting to get married. Mm-hmm. Want to know if I'd do the wedding. Well, I really don't do weddings anymore. But now I said, okay, but they have to meet with me. I'm not just going to do a wedding. They have to meet with me. And their deal was, oh, you want to try to push God and church on them? I said, absolutely not. You know me, Joe. I don't push things on anybody.
No, you don't.
So I met with them and talked to him. I said, okay. I said, so here's some real questions. I said, the reason I'm going to ask you some real questions is because I believe in marriage. I believe in people setting themselves up purposefully, but I also believe that we need to not go into things setting ourselves up for failure. Have y'all ever had a fight? Have y'all ever broken up? Oh, no. I don't know. Y'all probably need to have a fight. You need to know if he knows how to apologize and if she knows how to apologize. You come from a very close-knit family. Do you? No, I don't. Okay. Are you going to be able to handle mom-in-law over at your house 4 days a week? Head kind of went back. I said, these are things you need to talk about now. Because if you don't, that's just resentment getting built up. And you can't go into something and then 5 years later say, well, I can't stand how. No, you got to start focusing on those things now. So went through a series of questions with them, and I already knew. Day later, phone rings. What did you say to them? You know, and this was the mother. I said, I just asked them questions. And if they can come to the point and realize, she's like, well, they went home and fought. I said, good. They need to find out, can we get in a fight and still love each other? Can we get in a fight and still make it?
Can somebody challenge you? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. You need somebody to challenge you. We've had this discussion here recently that it's healthy for your partner, for your significant other, to be able to challenge you on things and to get through it together. I'm challenged all the time.
I love it, dude.
I'm challenged. She's going to watch it, you know.
I love it.
I'm challenged all the time. But, you know, we get through it. And, I mean, my God, we're not going anywhere, right? We know that.
Yeah.
But it's that constant boundaries. You know, we set those boundaries.
But you also have a wife that knows how to throw a punch, too.
Oh, yeah, she does. She's nasty with it.
But that's good. You need to be, I mean, we all need to be challenged. And if people, and when we hear the word challenge doesn't mean confrontational.
No.
That just means, hey, hang on a sec. Let's run that back. And one of my famous lines I will do with people when I'm in that situation and I want to challenge what they said, or I'll say, will you do me a favor? Will you repeat back slowly what you just said and think about what you just said? Because sometimes people say things and they don't even realize what they just said or how it sounded. And I've been very bad at doing that, man. I'll say stuff and then I realize, wait, that's not really what I meant, because my demeanor, I have a deep voice, I'm sarcastic. That's not how I meant it. And I've been sitting there and I've made women cry and I'm like, no, I wasn't being rude. And then I realized you need to work on your approach, Dave. You need to, you need to, instead of, well, that's just who I am, deal with it. Well,
tone matters.
Tone matters.
We talk about tone a lot in our house.
Yeah. If you don't think tone matters, guys, go home and tell your wife, where's dinner? And then the next day come in and say, hey, where's dinner? I know I just said that and there's going to be somebody, why does she have to make the dinner?
That's the difference between sandwich and a lasagna.
Oh, dinner's in the fridge. You need to make it.